Hi everyone and welcome back, and if you're new here, I am Prakriti, and in today's video I am going to finally talk about my makeup brushes. This is one of the most requested videos. So many of you guys want to know about my makeup brushes. So yes, I have divided this video into two parts. In the first part I am going to talk about my face brushes, and in the second part I am going to talk about eye brushes. Now this video is going to be lengthy, alright, so there are timestamps in the description box in case you guys wanna skip to a certain part. Just check out the description box. I have divided this video on the basis of steps that are involved in makeup. For example, foundation, concealer, highlighting and contouring, and then blush. So I have divided it on the basis of steps. For example, if you consider foundation, what brushes you can use for applying foundation, and if you consider concealer, what brushes can you use for applying concealer. So that is how I have divided this video. Now without any further chatting, let's just get into it. Number one is primer. There are so many different types of primers. There are silicone based primers, hydrating primers, highlighting primers. We are going to get into each category one by one. You don't need a particular brush for a lot of primers, and there are not a lot of brushes available in the market for primers, for the application of primers, especially silicone based primers. They should be applied with hands, because hands just kind of warm up the product and they just make the application very smooth, and the primer works better if you use it with your hands. Then we have primers with very fine shimmer or glitter particles that give you a very glowy effect. I'd say that you use your hands with almost all of these primers, but sometimes you just can't use your hands, especially when you're doing makeup on someone else, and even on yourself. When you are in a hurry, you don't want to use your hands, you can use this makeup brush. This is completely optional, alright? You will not need a makeup brush to apply primer. But if you want, you can use the Plume P05 brush. I love using this brush with the Miss Claire Prestige Lumilare primer and also the Maybelline Master Strobing Cream. While applying the primer, you have to make sure that you're dabbing and blending at the same time. So this is what you have to do. You just have to dab and blend. So this is how you use this brush. You don't have to be this slow. I am going this slow because I want to demonstrate the process. You can also be fast with it, and if you want, you can just use dabbing motions like this, and in the end you can just even everything out by swiping. Next, I am going to talk about color correctors. Since I have hyperpigmentation, I color correct most of the times. The brush that I like using is the Cuffs and Lashes F019 brush. I like using it for my under eyes and around my mouth. I have this brown kind of ring around my mouth that I like color correcting. Now this is a very nice brush that sits perfectly in your under eye socket. Next, if you have acne marks or acne spots here and there on your face, you can use a very precise brush and apply the color corrector right on the spot. And if you have a lot of acne marks in one area and they are clustered, again you can use a brush that's a little bit bigger than this. Something like this will work. These are brushes that I got from Amazon. Now I cannot link the same brushes in the description box, but I am going to link brushes that are close to this one. And if you don't want to use brushes, again you can totally use your fingers too for applying the color corrector under your eyes and on your blemishes or your acne spots as well. Next is foundation. Now there are a few different types of foundation brushes that I'm going to talk about in this video. Actually 3 types. So number one is your normal blending brush, foundation blending brush. This is like an all-in-one. You can pick your foundation with this, you can apply and blend and just leave it to that. You will not need a beauty blender or a makeup sponge. According to me, this is the best budget foundation brush available in the Indian market, I'd say. So this is the PAC 265 brush. I know that you must have seen a lot of people using this brush. That's because it's really good. It has this flat top and it's densely packed, and the brush hair are super fine. Also, never leave your brush handle in water for a long time because this is what happens, especially if it's wooden. So yeah, I still use this brush because it's just the handle, so you can definitely use it. Plus there is no shedding with this brush. So the next brush that I want to talk about, if we consider foundation, is the Cuffs and Lashes F013 brush. This is an angled foundation brush. I really like this brush. I think this is around 200 to 300 rupees and it's very affordable and it's a really good brush. Although you won't get a finish like the PAC one, but still for the price it's really good. The best thing is that it sits really nicely on your face. You can see like that angle is beautiful. Another brush that you can use is the Plume P05 brush. As I said, this is a foundation application brush, which means you will need a beauty blender or a makeup sponge if you use this brush, because it does leave some brush strokes, and to be honest, it's a little bit difficult to blend your foundation with this brush because it's not actually meant for blending in your foundation. And the next tool that I love for foundation application is your good old makeup sponge. This is the Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge, and this is my favorite makeup sponge. You can also use this sponge with concealer, with cream contour for setting your face, so this is like an all-in-one tool that you can have. I know that this sponge is costly, but you know, it's a really good quality sponge. It's very soft. Next is concealer. Now there are two brushes that I use for concealer that I mostly use, or I'd like to use for concealers. So first is the PAC 218 concealer brush, and second is the Cuffs and Lashes F019. This PAC one is a really good concealer brush. It makes your under eyes look flawless. It doesn't absorb a lot of product. Again, it has got super fine bristles and it's very soft, but it blends the product seamlessly. So if you like using a brush for your concealer, this is a brush that you should definitely try. And then again, we have the makeup sponge. You can definitely use this for your concealer as well. Now it retails for rupees 500, around that price point, 525 or something, which is a little bit pricey if we consider a concealer brush and just a single brush, but you know, this is a really good brush and I've been using it for years, and this looks exactly the same like when I purchased it. Even after a lot of washes, this looks beautiful, and that's what I like about PAC brushes. All the brushes are very durable. The next is cream contour and cream blush. Now for cream blush, I like using this PAC 234 brush. PAC says that this is a powder brush, but I think that it's too dense to be a powder brush, and that's what I feel. Again, it's very soft and the size is perfect to get a precise blush application. So I really like using the PAC 234 for my cream blush. I also like using my fingers. In fact, most of the times I use my fingers for cream blush, and I don't use cream blushes a lot, so that's why I just have one brush for that. And sometimes I also blend it out with a sponge when I want to sheer it out. You can use a sponge when your blush is super pigmented. I also like using the PAC 234 brush for cream contouring. For my face shape, it sits really nicely in that hollow, and it also blends the product seamlessly, so that's why I like using it for cream contouring sometimes. The other brushes that I like using for cream contouring are the Nika contour brush. It says that this is a contour brush, but I've actually used this brush with a lot of things. I've used it with foundation, I've used it with cream contour, I've used it with blush, and it works with cream products and powder products as well. This is a really nice brush, and again, it sits really nicely in the hollow of your cheekbones, as you can see, and it also blends the product seamlessly. Again, the type of motion that you want to use is dabbing, I'd say, even with the powder products, because you don't want to swipe it. It is a little bit dense, so if you try to swipe the products, it can make them look a little bit patchy. Now, ultimately, if you want your face to look super chiseled, like you want to draw lines literally on your face, you can use the Plume P04 brush. You can see this is flat and it's also not too dense, so you can use it with powder products as well, but be careful while using it with powder products because you can see it's flat, so it will deposit a lot of product in one area. This is also a good brush if you want to contour your nose. I don't have like a perfectly straight nose, I have sort of a crooked nose, so this brush is really helpful when it comes to nose contouring because you know it's flat, so you can just keep it like this and get that edge very straight. Now let's get to powdering your face or setting your face. So for the under eye area, I have got 3 brushes over here. All the 3 are good. You can purchase any one of them. First is the PAC 245 brush. This is a really good brush. The amount of brush hair that this has is just perfect for setting your under eyes. And then I have the Wet n Wild P65 brush. Again, you can set your under eyes with this brush. And then ultimately I have the Plume P23 brush, which is softer if we compare it to these 2 brushes. So I have an oily T-zone, so I mainly use these type of brushes to set under my eyes and then around my mouth and a little bit on my forehead. I don't powder my whole face. If you want to powder your whole face, you can use this brush from Cuffs and Lashes. This is their F024 brush and it's a really huge brush, and if you want to powder your whole face, this can be really helpful. So if if you want to powder your whole face, you can just take your compact and swirl your brush into it and just powder your whole face. I'm not going to powder it because I like this kind of finish. Next, we are going to talk about powder contour. And for powder contour, you generally get these angled sort of brushes because, you know, it's meant for your cheekbones mainly to get that angle right. And you can use the same for your forehead, for your jawline. And you can see this angle really helps a lot. You can just swipe it on your jaw. Then for my cheekbones, I like to go like this so that it lifts my face. And then for my forehead, I like to go like this. So obviously you will have a different face shape. Once you buy this brush, you will sort of figure out how to use it if you use it a couple of times. So the three brushes that I have are, number one is the Wet n Wild contour brush. Again, I've been using this brush for years. Then next up I have the Cuffs and Lashes F012 brush. Again, this is very soft and it blends the powder contour seamlessly. Then ultimately I have the Allure 127 Luxe Sheer Cheek brush, and this is how it looks. Now all the three brushes are exactly the same. The shape is same. The bristles, actually this one, the Wet n Wild one, is a little bit harder than the other two. The Cuffs and Lashes one is the softest contour brush that I have. Now I don't need all of these brushes. I'm giving you options because I have these and I really like these, and you can just pick one if you want, if you really need a contour brush. Next I have three blush brushes. Now my favorite blush brush will be the Lottie London blush brush. First of all, it's so beautiful. I like the color. So I like dabbing with this brush instead of, you know, like blending and swiping the blush around, because that way I feel that it gives a patchy kind of finish. So if you're using this brush, just dab your blush. If you like using blending motion for your blush, I think you should get this one from Miniso. It's their blush brush. I think it's from their macaroon series. So this is something that will be helpful if you want to blend your blush, and if you want to like use dabbing motion, you can get the Lottie London one. And then I also have a small blush brush. It's angled. This one is from Plume. It's their P02 brush. Again, it's very soft. So the Plume one is the smallest in size, and then the Miniso brush, and then ultimately the Lottie London one is the biggest in size. Now let's get to the final category, which is highlighter brushes. This fan brush is my favorite for applying the highlighter. I just go with my highlighter like this, and then I'll intensify it in this area. So that's why I like using a fan brush. You can also use a smaller brush, something like this one. If you want to be very precise, you can use this brush. Now this one is a very old brush. It's from Shein. I think I bought it from Shein. I'll try to find an alternative to this brush, and if I find one, I am going to link it in the description box. So that's it for the video. I hope you find this helpful. Stay tuned for part 2, in which I will be sharing my eye makeup brushes. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.